We now welcome on Chris Long. He is the sports anchor at KSTP, 5 Eyewitness News. You guys, you've probably seen him all over your TVs, announcing all sorts of sports news. Chris, my first question for you is, as a sports guy, how have you been keeping sane? We've been asking people that all day, but.
Um, Thanks for having me on here. So happy to have you guys. I'm hitting up family. I'm hoping a bunch of people can come in and throw some money at this thing to help you guys do some good here. Secondly, I think I'm about to say is got to be predicated by the fact that, our station has done a great job to sort of protect all of our employees. We're doing good as a building. We're doing good as a sports department. We are fortunate when a lot of people are not right now. I mean, I've got, we all know a ton of people that are in a bad spot right now.
Yep.
So I need to predicate what I'm going to say about that. However, it's a stressful time for us, man. I mean, we are, I'm not trying to brag here, but I think we're doing pretty good work. We're putting some pretty good stuff on there. We're telling good stories. We've been doing great interviews. This is about my 10,000th Zoom interview in the last 6 weeks.
I bet you've gotten pretty good with the app so far with all the Zoom interviews.
Yes.
You know your way around.
But it's just tough. I mean, we're trying to find cool stories and we're turning over rocks and finding some great things. But it's tough. I mean, we're, like everybody else, we're kind of looking ahead and hoping that there's a finish line on this thing. And, until that gets a little clearer, there's some stress and some sanity issues, but, everybody's healthy. We're still working, family's good. So you're not going to hear me complain. It has not been easy, but I'm not going to complain.
That's good to hear. Starting out here, you started your career in Duluth at a station KDLH-TV. Tell us a little about what you did down there in Duluth. Or up there, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, guys.
I've never had more fun doing the job, and anybody in TV will kind of tell you that when you start out, you're in a small market and you do everything. You do, even now, we're still, especially in sports, we do a little bit of everything. Some days I'll produce, some days I'm on the camera. You'll see me out shooting high school hockey games, football games. But in Duluth, there's 2 of us in the entire department. We did everything, and I've never had more fun. It's a town that loves its sports. I grew up a winter guy. I grew up in DC. I skied, I played hockey, I coached hockey after college. So to get into a town that just loves outdoor life and has no choice but to embrace winter, and to be such a hockey hotbed with the high school teams, not just in Duluth, but all over the area up there. And then UMD, it was really fun up there. I've never had more fun. A lot of people go to their first job and stay for a year, 2 years. I was there 8 years. And
wow, yeah.
Maybe it's because I had to. Maybe I needed 8 years to be ready to get out of there. But man, I loved it up there. And from there, I went to Fort Myers, Florida. But I'm not from Minnesota, but I fell in love with the state and the area. I haven't been in Duluth. And right when I got to Florida, my entire career track was aimed at trying to get back to right here in Twin Cities.
And yeah, Chris, a question I had for you, going off of, you're from the DC area and you moved, to Minnesota. Since you moved here, what's your favorite part about the Midwest, Minnesota specifically? What keeps you here?
The people. I mean, it's cliche, but it's the people. It's just, everybody says, "Oh, would you ever move back to DC?" Well, I don't know if I could. Life in DC now, it's just, I tell everybody, it's too much. It's too much mortgage payment, too much traffic, too much crime, too much hassle. It's too much. We don't have to deal with too much usually in Minnesota. It's definitely life has the pace here, and everybody kind of gets sort of that we're all a perfect example is what we're going through right now. I mean, we're dealing with it as a community. I think I haven't been in any other communities the last 7 weeks, but I think we're dealing with this pretty well. And I think that's everybody sort of just has a pretty affable manner about them. And it took me a while to shake my East Coast and adopt that. And I hope I have. I love the people. I absolutely love the people here.
Well, and, when we thought of this whole thing, we've been putting a month's worth of work into the stream, and the whole thought behind it was we're all in this together. Why not, try to bring all these people together? We've had everyone from, people like you. We've had hockey guys, football guys, people all over the industry, small names, big names, just to bring everyone together for a common cause. So, kind of that aspect of we go through things together in this community. That's what we're trying to push here. So. I
love it.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a father, there's no place I'd rather raise my kids than in Minnesota, without question.
Yeah,
it's a great state. Now, your first television job was a freelance gig for Outside the Lines, correct?
Yes.
How was that? I mean, that's a really cool show. They talk about everything I mean, everything with sports
Yeah. This was early on in Outside the Lines, and I'll give you an idea of how early it was. I was interning in San Diego because when I'm in college and they said, okay, you have to go find an internship, I went, why not do Southern California?
It's a good place to be.
It's a great
It was
great weather.
an amazing summer.
Yeah.
So one of the producers there was sort of a go-to guy if ESPN, we were the ABC station there, kind of like here. So ESPN and ABC are sort of married together. They would call this producer and offer him these freelance gigs, whether it was interviewing or lining up. Anyway, he couldn't do this one particular one they had. So he said, well, do you want to do it? You're journalism school boy. You can handle this. I said, yeah, sure. And was just terrified, absolutely terrified. I had never, so they had stepped me up with a sound guy, a camera guy, and said, call the San Diego Padres and you're going to interview their pitcher, Andy Benes. And then I had to go interview. This is early. The story was the growth of this thing called sports talk radio. That's how long ago it was. And the story was Andy Benes, who was a pitcher for the Padres, went on the sports talk radio station and just blasted team ownership about a contract negotiation. And that didn't happen back then. It doesn't happen that much now, but that outlet was so new. So I talked to Andy Benes and asked him about the decision to do it and why he did it. And then I went and talked to the host of the show who he went on and blasted him, and sort of weird worlds coming together. The guy's name was Hacksaw Hamilton. He was a guy who very briefly was hired to be the Vikings play-by-play guy. I don't remember the story what happened. He left, and Paul Allen stepped in as an interim guy to fill in for him and has been there ever since. So we talked to Hacksaw Hamilton, and I haven't worked with a lighting guy and a sound guy and a camera guy since, but I think it was it got $200.
Hacksaw, you're saying Hacksaw was a radio guy?
He was a radio guy in San Diego.
Guy? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep. And he's hosted the show that the pitcher went on and blasted the team. So, yeah, it was my first nickel in the business came from the worldwide leader. And I didn't want to cash the check. I wanted to just frame it and hang it up.
Yeah, of course. That's super cool. And I saw that you were on Outside the Lines. It's crazy. And was Jim Rome there when you were doing that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
He was still local in LA, San Diego. Actually, I spent the 4th of July there. I didn't know anybody when I moved out there. A couple of the guys that I got to know were regular callers, local guys that called Rome. Jimmy the Rope, I think, was one. Anyway, I spent 4th of July at a pool party with a bunch of these like diehard first wave Jim Rome callers. It was wild.
Well, yeah, Chris, another thing I kind of had for you is I know, you grew up in D.C., you've been in Duluth and stuff, but there's some other cities you've worked in, obviously San Diego. You've also spent some time in Indianapolis as well as Mizzou, correct?
Yep,
so,
graduated in Missouri. Yep.
So just curious, what did you do in Indianapolis? I'm kind of a bad guy at the 10,000 takes when it comes to football because I'm a Colts fan. I'm the one non-Vikings guy here. Just describe your time in Indianapolis and kind of what you did in the city.
Most of my family relocated there between when I graduated high school and started college. It actually kind of worked out great for me personally because I got to have my senior summer knowing that was it. I wasn't going back. My family was leaving, so that was a fun – summer of 91 was plenty of fun. Yeah. My family moved to Indianapolis, so I spent, obviously summers and holidays there. Worked there for a little while. I lived there while I was looking for my job in Duluth. I coached a high school hockey team there. So it was sort of an adopted home. My family relocated there. If you ask my younger brothers, they're doing math, 8 years younger than me. If you ask them, they'd say they grew up in Indiana. I grew up in D.C. I was a diehard Redskins fan growing up, and Dan Snyder made that awfully hard. So I sort of traded my Redskins fandom for Colts fandom because Peyton Manning was happening when we got to Indy. And, I jumped on that bandwagon. I was always home during the NFL playoffs from college. So I love Indy. I say Indianapolis is the most underrated city in the United States.
Really? Yeah.
It's great.
Cool.
And then, Mizzou, went to college in central Missouri. And the other stop, as I mentioned, was down in Fort Myers where that was just a weird – living in Florida is everything that you hear that it is. It's just
all the stories on the news. Did you, did you turn into a bit of a cold baby after moving down there? You get real used to the heat or no?
No, man, I weigh more than 200 pounds. I do cold just fine. I'm built for cold.
Yeah.
No, and I was in Duluth. Once you've done 8 years in Duluth,
There's no going back.
Oh, that's
Yeah, you walk on the moon and not be cold.
yeah. You can deal with anything after being up in Duluth for a winter. Come on now. Now you mentioned you coached some high school hockey. What was it like moving to Minnesota and seeing how big high school hockey is here? Our state tournament gets 19,000 people to watch 16 to 18-year-old kids play hockey. What was your thoughts when you moved here?
I've covered multiple Super Bowls, World Series, SEC football, you name it, I've covered it. High school football in Florida, I've covered it. There is no event that I have more of an affinity for on the planet than the high school hockey tournament. And I'm not saying that because I'm some shill for 45 TV because we carry it. I was like that when I was in Duluth. There was no streaming when I moved to Florida. The internet was still figuring things out. I would have a friend in Duluth leave a phone next to the radio call from 7:10 a.m. up in Duluth when the teams were playing. And I'd sit with my speakerphone and I would listen through a phone to the radio call of the state hockey tournament. And by the time I was done there, my buddies that worked with me in the office in Fort Myers, it drove them crazy the first 2 years. Then we started doing pools. We did a fantasy league. They were all fired up about it. And like, we'd be in the office cheering and people were like, what are you guys listening to? And they'd be like, you're not going to believe what Longer has us listening to through a phone. I absolutely love the state hockey tournament. I love the fans' passion for it. I love everything about it. I mean, players that I got to cover, especially in Duluth, where you're coming from a small town, and especially a small, like when Greenway came back last year after the long absence, the program almost down. I reconnected with 4 or 5 guys from the last Greenway team, the Gino Geyer, the Andy Sirkich team.
That's a big name.
It was the last to come down. Gino and I were swapping texts. I kind of reunited with those guys, and being able to see them now closer to my age relatively, having seen them go through it when they were 18 and how much that meant to them then, and being able to see how much this new generation going meant to them now is one of the best ways I can illustrate it. I mean, I remember goals that were scored. I remember doing interviews. I've had friends come up from Indianapolis and back home in DC. Hey man, we want to come visit you. When's a good time? I go, come to the state hockey tournament.
Yeah.
Come during March and we'll go watch, and you're not going to believe it. It's just my favorite thing I post on social media every year is the picture. I usually take my kids on Thursday morning. We'll go to the first game or two, and then I'll have to come into work. But I'll do the panoramic picture, and I will say, this is noon on a Thursday for a quarterfinal of a high school game.
Yeah.
And there's 9,000 people there.
And we always compare it to like state high school football tournament in Texas. It's like certain states own certain sports all the way down to the high school level. I mean, it's incredible to kind of support that gets. But Chris, going into some funnier topic, in your college days, you were the founding member of Alpha Kappa. You were a founding member of Alpha Kappa Lambda. I'm actually a fraternity guy myself, so I know the Greek way of life. I'm just going to assume you didn't party very much.
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit. I couldn't hear the The University of Missouri is look, we're in the middle of Missouri.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it took me 5.5 years to graduate. I'll answer the question that way.
Okay. Yeah. For those of you in the audience, you can take that as you wish.
It's a
I have family members that might be tuned in here, so I don't want to. Got to be careful.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah, I love Missouri. Yes, it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, for sure.
And the journalism school, the journalism. I'm not sitting here if I didn't go to Missouri. The journalism school is very strong, and I don't think if I'd have been there, I don't think I'm sitting here talking to you.
All right. 100%. Switching into some sports talk, what is your opinion on the Stefon Diggs trade? What do you think? Did the Vikings make a good deal, or do you think they're going to definitely be hurting without Stefon Diggs?
I think it had to happen. And I like Diggsy. He grew up in my neighborhood. He and I played for the exact thing. We played for the same youth football program.
Really?
Obviously, many years apart.
Wow.
But yeah. My dad went to high school that was one of his high school rivals, and they played for the city championship last year, and we talked about it. So I'm going to miss him. Love talking with him. We always talk about Maryland football. We talk about high school football back home. But it had to happen. I hate that he's gone. I think there's a lot of players on the Vikings that probably hate that he's gone, but it wasn't working. And I don't necessarily love how he handled it, but if it's going to work out better in the long run for him and it's going to work out better in the long run for the Vikings, okay, the end justifies the means. I kind of rolled my eyes at him when he did I missed practice with a cold thing last fall. That was a little absurd. But he's an NFL receiver, man. They've got diva tendencies. That's how they roll. At least he's not OBJ. At least he's not, doing things quite like that for as long as that.
And we were talking to John Krasinski last night about kind of how wide receivers, for whatever reason, it's something about that position kind of have the same levels of drama as almost like NBA players. Drama's just kind of part of the gig. That's what happens.
But I'm old enough to remember when that was running backs in the NFL.
Really? So there's been a bit of a switch over time.
Yeah, when they were the rock stars and they were the guys, but the problem is going to be that everybody's going to hold Justin Jefferson and him and say, well, if Justin Jefferson doesn't get here, he's a bust. That's not fair to Jefferson. I think he can get there. Matthew Collar recently of Score North basically said, if you're trying to say somebody has to be one of the 15 best receivers in football to be considered a success, that's not fair. I think it's a good trade. I think they got a lot for him. They got a good first-round pick that they used wisely, and then some stuff they can use next year. And I hope Steph does real well in Buffalo, but I think it was a good trade that had to happen.
Yeah. And Chris, what about are you excited for the whole Kaprizov stuff? I know there's been kind of a lot of stuff up in the air and 130% head nod, especially after we're big fans of Michael Russo, his whole article on everything. I mean, the hype is there. How excited are you?
That article is actually really cool because one of the guys he talked to, Kate Fairchild, was going back, a kid I covered when he played for Duluth East, who played with Kaprizov in Siberia. I know that. I can't remember.
It was a European.
It's always, this always happens. This happened with Byron Buxton. It was coming through the Twins organization. And it used to happen a lot more because before the internet, you'd hear about these guys in the minors, or you'd hear about this guy that the Vikings drafted from some school you'd never heard of in the 4th round, and boy, is he going to be something. Now you know a little bit more about most of these guys. You knew about Buxton. You saw a video of Buxton when he was playing in Cedar Rapids, when he was playing in was it Chattanooga at the time? I can't remember. Anyway, Kaprizov, you don't know. I mean, you can watch KHL games, but not many people do. So he's just got this Wild West legend of this man-child that's dominated the KHL. And I think that's made the legend even more fun. It goes back to that throwback of that prospect that, once this guy gets here, we're going to be great. And I think that's where fans are grabbing onto it. As media, I think he's what the Wild, or somebody that analyzes it, he's what they've lacked since Marion Gaborik left.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
a guy that potentially can be that. If the puck is on his stick, it's danger.
Yeah, and with Fiala too on the same
the
team. I mean, we
emergence,
could see some record numbers in goal scoring, for the organization.
Especially because they got young players too that are also
shameless plug. We actually have a soundbite with Kevin Fiala tonight about what it's felt like. We did a phone interview with him earlier in the week, or a video interview with him, and talked about what's it been like to sort of have this wave of fan support coming. Where we didn't phrase it this way, but you kind of heard some boos and there was some frustration, and now you're the big man on campus. What's that been like? Yes, he stays where he is. I think Luke Cunnin is showing, he's not going to be one of the 5 best players in the NHL, but he is going to be a cog, I think, for a long time. You've got this next wave. How long did we hear about, well, as soon as Granlund, Coyle, Niederreiter, as soon as those guys pop and gel, the Wild are going to go to the next level. Well, it never happened. Now you're starting to see that next level that could carry them that way.
I agree with you. I've always said with Coyle, Niederreiter, and Granlund, they never reached their full potential with the Wild. We never got out of a second-round playoff series. The way these young cats are playing right now for the Wild, I really have confidence in them, and I think they will be able to take that to the next level.
And that may rejuvenate some of the veterans that are there that have.
I mean, look at how Koivu played at the end of that season when Donato and Hartman started stepping up and scoring goals. Well, there was Koivu getting assists and scoring goals with them. So I agree.
Yeah. Chris, another question for you. Since your time here, what is your favorite moment in Minnesota sports? I know it's a super cliche question, but especially as a guy who covers kind of everything in your position, what's like your top moment?
I mean, I'll ignore the Minneapolis Miracle because that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Just anybody that was in the building that day, and I put it on social media more times than I should. Stephon Diggs hadn't seen the replay after the game, and I ran him in the locker room, and I'm like, "Have you seen it yet?" He goes, "No." I said, "Hold on." And I grabbed it on my phone, called up the replay, and got to stand there and watch Stephon Diggs watch himself.
So you got the reaction.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Nice.
It was
so cool.
It was
That's
so
sweet.
cool. If somebody saw what I was doing, a friend of mine works another station, a photographer, saw what was going on, took the picture and sent it to me. I'm like, it was just a cool moment.
Wow.
That's one, and everything else is after that. But there's been a lot of little ones. I mean, being a hockey guy, it was pretty darn cool when Justin Hall scored with 1/10 of a second left in the national semifinal for the Gophers to beat North Dakota. His first goal of the season. They weren't even really favored to get to the Frozen Four, so they got there. It's always fun when you get to travel with the team, and that team it had so many characters. I mean, Nate Schmidt, I could go down the list. That was a team I really enjoyed covering, and to be in their locker room after that moment was pretty special. And very quickly, I didn't see the goal scored. We had to run out to the parking lot because the game was still going on. We couldn't go live in the stadium. I had run out to the parking lot with about 1:30 left, figuring we're going to OT. We're going to go do our live shot. We'll run back in. Perfect. We'll be back for OT. Producer says in my ear, 10 seconds. And the audio guy comes in and goes, Gophers score, Hall, 1/10 left. And I can hear the roar inside the building.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That was a cool, fun trip, fun moment, fun team, likable guy. It had everything.
That was a really awesome moment.
Yeah.
I was also outside. I had to run out to my car. I was watching with a bunch of my buddies, and I came in, and they're freaking out. I was like, what's going on here? What happened? They're like, they scored.
Yep.
Okay, cool, sweet. National title game.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap this up, we're getting pretty close to time, but there were talks before we went live about getting a possible tour of your studio here, an exclusive tour.
I'll keep it quick. The weird thing is, this is my usual. Like I'll back.
Yeah,
this, like if you watch Channel 5, normally this is my shot.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't sat in this seat for 2 months because of social distancing. We're over there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So what we normally do is we start at that podium. We do our sports. This is the big graphic you see behind me, and then we walk over here, which is the big anchor desk. I haven't been in this chair in forever because we have to be. The anchor sits here.
Yep.
There's 2 anchors. One is here in my seat, and one's way over there. And then I'm going to try not to make you seasick.
No,
you're
you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. This is good stuff.
And then weather is either at their wall here
Yep.
or over here in the weather center right here.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird. Everybody says, wow, a lot of stations have people at home and things like that. My office back there's only 2 of us in it, and I can come in a back door and go straight to my office, and then I'm over here. This is doing as best I can. That's what you're used to seeing for us. And I am over here, nowhere near anybody else. That's our interview set, weather, anchor desk.
So then, because the anchors are far apart, is the camera wide enough, or did they have to kind of back it up from the normal position?
2 cameras. One camera will be on one of them, one will be on the other.
Oh, and they just switch. They switch during.
Okay.
Yeah, the only time you'll see all 4 of us now, there will be 4 boxes in the screen. It'll be anchor, weather, and me, or sports. That's it. There's not a shot. Some stations, I say, well, like on WCCO, they're so lucky they've got Frank and Amelia who are married, so they can sit on the anchor desk together.
Oh, yeah.
ESPN, you can see they do a 2 anchor shot, but the camera's farther back, and there's 2 of them sitting pretty far apart. But it's just weird. Like anybody that's still working, we just had to kind of figure out how we were going to do this until we get to the finish line of all of this madness.
Well,
Whatever that is.
And a thing I've noticed is just, especially with what you just showed us, it's amazing how creative people have been, from, entertainment to music to sports of what to do during this, because it threw everyone for a loop together. It wasn't just one industry or another. I mean, I know like the CMA Music Awards were all done virtually. We saw the first ever NFL draft that was virtual in 2020, and it's incredible to see how creative people are getting to make sure that these things still happen. So I guess one positive to find out of it is just the creativity we've seen be put into place. But
do it. Yeah, figure it out. That's kind of been our hashtag, figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And before we wrap this up, our signature segment. Our signature segment here has been rapid fire. I don't know, for anyone who's been watching, you've seen every single person before you's done this. So there's a lot of funny stuff to come out of this. But we're gonna put a minute on the clock and kind of some fun would you rather questions. So Chris Long, are you ready to go?
Yes, and I don't want to say hello to my brother. My brother's he's there. He's watching.
Okay. All right.
The Long family is representing.
Yeah.
Donate. Click on and you cheapskates. Put money in the coffers.
Yeah. Hey, that goes to my friends and family too. If you guys have the money, donate it. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
If you're listening because you saw it on social media and clicked in for me, put $1 in. If you can do $1.
Guys, anything helps. That's really how we are here. But all right, rapid fire. Here we go. Chris, would you rather spend the rest of your life blind or in an Olive Garden?
This is the hardest of the 10. Blind, because I've learned in the last 7 weeks that I do not want to have to stay in one place for a prolonged period of time ever again for the rest of my life.
Okay. If you were given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Cleveland rocks. I've had a great times. I've been to Cleveland a couple times, once with some college buddies, and we had a blast. Another of America's underrated cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, gladly. I'd go right now if I could.
All right. What is the official terminology here? Is it hot dish or casserole?
Hot dish. Come on.
Hot dish.
I've been in Minnesota 18 years. Hot dish.
Yep.
If a movie was made about your life, who would play you?
I had to think about this one. I wanted to kick this one around with my producer because he's a big movie guy.
Yeah.
Based on sort of sense of humor, mannerism, and the fact that he gains weight and loses weight about as much as I do, Matthew Perry, Chandler from Friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's kind of got that smart aleck sort of thing.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Would you rather have your head the size of a tennis ball or of a watermelon?
Not all watermelons are huge, so I'm going to go watermelon. I'm going to pray that I get lucky and get a smaller watermelon.
Yeah.
I heard Micheletti said tennis ball. Tennis ball head. You can't wear a hat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just thought of this too. The shape of a watermelon is that kind of a head. I mean, it's not as, it's taller than it is wide. So, if I'm trying to describe it.
That's a good point. If you could pick it to sit
this way. The tall way.
That wouldn't be awful.
I guess.
Yeah, no.
I'm all in team watermelon on that.
Team watermelon. All right. Yeah. Minneapolis or St. Paul?
That's hard. You're killing me here.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in Minneapolis when I first moved here. Live in Ramsey County now. I think I'm still going to say Minneapolis because I do like to do things after 9 p.m.
Okay. Yep.
St. Paul does tend to, on non-event nights, wind down a little early for my choosing.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yep. In self-defense, how many fifth graders could you take on at one time?
For how long is sort of my qualifier in this question. So 10-year-olds, I mean, for a few minutes until I get winded, I think I could do 10.
10? Okay.
Maybe using one as a weapon against the other 9.
You pick them up by their shoes and it's like a baseball bat type thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd have to go with. Okay. But at some point, because they're going to outlast me, they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, they're young. Come on.
Yeah, no, exactly. Would you rather always be wearing a shirt that's kind of itchy or a shoe that always has a pebble in it?
The shoe. At some point, it's annoying, but at some point, it's going to go numb. An itchy shirt will wreck your day.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. What's more realistic, ghosts or aliens?
I mean, both, right? I think we've seen at least some evidence that you can choose to ignore if you'd like that both in some form exist. What's more likely? I guess I could probably say aliens because there's got to be something out there, right? You can change your definition of ghost to fit whatever you want it to be, but aliens saying that there's something out there somewhere
has to be. It's
arrogant of us to think there's not.
Yeah. All right, and our final question: if there was one sport you could watch for the rest of your life, you can only have one. Which one is it? I know I can see the struggle.
It's hockey.
It's hockey. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's definitely. Yeah. Grew up playing it, coaching it, loved it, watch it. That's why I'm so thrilled to be working and living and watching sports, hopefully again very soon here in the state of hockey.
It has the best playoffs in my opinion, so I think you picked right.
Oh, plus you get the high school thing too.
Yeah.
As you mentioned.
And if there's only one sport I can watch, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
High school.
I mean,
It's a no-brainer. I'd miss the rest of them, but if you told me I could watch the rest of them and not hockey, I don't know if I would take that deal because
that's I'd have to agree with you there.
Well, Chris, we've really loved having you on. We just want to remind all the people out there that you could donate to the Groveland Emergency Food Bank in Minneapolis at www.10000takesmn.com/SodaStream. There's a dash between soda and stream. All the money we're raising there with the auction, with the Sweet Martha's deal we got going on our social media, all that is going to benefit those who are struggling with meals and getting food at this tough time. And Chris, on behalf of us, we really appreciate what you and everyone in media in general is doing, to deliver the news, in such tough circumstances, figure it out. That's kind of the motto that everyone's going by. So we've really had a lot of fun having you on, and just thank you again for donating and for hanging out with us. It's been
really
fun.
Help. If you do it again, let me know. I'd be happy to join you again. And I'm going to go back into the office and figure out what after dark means.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we gotta plug the transition. So, while everyone's watching, so we're gonna move into After Dark here. We're having a happy hour. We're having our buddies from the Soda Stream up in Vancouver on, the Soda Pod, this podcast. And then we're doing a bit called Shot for Shot, where if someone donates money, it's creative. If someone donates money, guys, at the site I told you, you leave a comment, no matter what it is, $1, $10, you donate to the cause, you list a 10,000 Takes member, they will take a shot on stream. This is kind of how we do things. And then finally, there's karaoke for cash. Once again, you donate anything, you tell someone on the stream to sing a song, and they will sing it.
I donated too early. I should have waited.
Yeah. Hey, well, like I said, guys, even if it's $1, we'll do it. Like I said,
have to come back in. Yeah.
Let's get Bubba to sing as many songs as he can.
Yeah. So. Well, once again, for those of you who are watching with kids, the language might increase, and we'll be drinking on the stream. So that's just an advisory. But we're gonna have a lot of fun, and once again, it's all to raise money for charity. So that's the way we do things around here.
Gentlemen, have fun. It's been a pleasure. Good luck. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you and try to help out in what little way I can here.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Chris.
We really
Take care.
It.
See you, boys.
See you soon.
See ya.